Several years ago, Canon's L grade prime lenses were the envy of the photography world, and they were the lenses that all photographers aim to try and use. However, now with releases from Sigma such as their art lenses, Zeiss with their Otis, and stabilized prime lenses from Tamron, Canon's prime lenses are now second or third choice to some photographers. So what can Canon do to get this back? So this all started off around about 5 years ago when Sigma released their 35mm f1.4 art lens, and it really caused stirrings amongst the photography community because it gave you the same sort of level of quality that the Canon 35 f1.4 gave, but at half the price. This problem for Canon then became worse when not only did Sigma release a 50mm f1.4 art lens that was better in image quality than Canon's 50mm f1.2 L lens, but Zeiss also released a 55mm f1.4, which was regarded as one of the sharpest lenses on the planet. Granted, you've got to sell a kidney in order to afford an Otis lens, but it did at least show that Canon weren't as indestructible as they thought they were in the lens market. Now, a couple of years back, Canon did release a 35mm version 2 as an answer to the Sigma 35mm, and while this did perform better than the Sigma, it was still an extortionately high price tag by comparison, so didn't sway as many photographers away from Sigma as maybe Canon had hoped. Now, last year, Canon hit back with a lens that really caught me by surprise. You see, Sigma had recently released an 85mm f1.4 art lens as an answer to the Zeiss Otis 85mm f1.4. And while there is no doubt that this lens is big and heavy enough to cave in somebody's skull, it certainly performs extremely well, especially considering the price that you pay for it. Tamron also had an 85mm lens on the market, which granted wasn't optically as strong as the Sigma or the Zeiss, and only had an aperture of f1.8 as opposed to f1.4, but it was a lot cheaper, a lot smaller, and also had image stabilization. So Canon released an update to their 85mm lens in the form of an 85mm f1.4 with stabilization, which wasn't a huge surprise to most photographers because it was well speculated that Canon were releasing this lens. However, what was a surprise, and what certainly surprised me, was the price of the thing. Canon L grade lenses are traditionally very expensive. Add stabilization onto it and I was expecting to need to sell my car in order to buy one. But amazingly, the thing only costs a few £100s more than the Sigma. So what are we going to see from Canon next? Well, the rumours all point towards replacements for their 135 f2 and their 50mm f1.2. So the rumour is that they're going to be releasing a 135mm f2 with image stabilization and a 50mm f1.4 with image stabilization as well. I think a new 135 f2 probably won't be too dissimilar to the version that's currently on the market. The optics will be upgraded, but externally I think the body is going to stay pretty much the same. Both the old 50mm 1.2 and the 85mm 1.2 use what is called a double gauze design. These help keep the lens a lot smaller and more compact, however they do have limitations in image quality, which is why the likes of the 50 and 85mm from Sigma and Zeiss are both a lot bigger and heavier than the Canon equivalents. Now, the new 85-1.4 from Canon has changed from a double gauze design to a more conventional design. So I think we'll see the same from the new 50mm, probably making it a similar size, maybe slightly shorter than the 85-1.4 IS. So there's no doubt that image quality and build quality are going to be exactly what we expect from a Canon L lens. However, it'll be interesting to see what sort of price point we're looking at. If we see a price point similar to how the 85-1.4 IS has been priced, then I think these lenses are going to be extremely popular. However, if they're priced more in line with what we're used to seeing from Canon L lenses, then they're going to have to perform pretty spectacular to rival the Sigma art lenses. But what do you reckon? If they release these lenses tomorrow, would you be buying either of them? Leave your comment down below and let me know what you think, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.